All right, we are back for another Friday financial wrap up with Mr. Michael Zuber. How are you, Michael?
Doing wonderful. I look forward to these every week. It's kind of the last thing I do each week is I then go and enjoy a couple of days. So thank you for the opportunity.
Dude, you've been crushing it. And I got to say, I always say this, Michael Zuber is my secret weapon. I feel like the last, I don't know, 18 months or so forth, how everything's been unfolding. And let's get right into it. This is for Friday, March the 31st. Let's just get in right into it. Pending home sales. What did you see this week and your thoughts there?
Yeah, so we got a pending home sales number, which again we got here was for February. They were higher than expected. The experts thought they'd be down 2.5%. They were actually up basically 1% at 0.8%. We are a real estate channel. We talk to lots of real estate agent investors. I got to let you know that I think home sales and pending transactions are going to kind of disappoint pretty much all year, right? A lot of you, like we talked about last week, saw the February existing home sales and got excited, right? We were up 15%, a huge jump. What I got to tell you is the inventory is not coming. We'll talk about this more later in the show, but you can only sell a home once. And what we did in February is we sold what was left over from November and December. So if you're a real estate agent, you had a good month because you were blowing out older listings. Don't go crazy with marketing. Don't go sign a new lease on a car. Realize you were just burning off excess inventory. We're going to do 4.3 million transactions. The pain's not over. February was a blip.
Yeah, February was a blip. And it's interesting because you've been calling that. I think as realtors, real estate professionals, loan officers, we were running at a clip of 6 million plus transactions. Is that pretty accurate? In
Yeah, I mean,
years?
for a decade, it was over 6 million. Yeah, absolutely.
So to go from 6 million to 4 million, and this is national transactions, folks.
Correct.
This is nationally how many sales for the year. That's still, we're losing basically a good solid third, depending on the market, 30-40% of transactions. You see that trend to continue into 23 and 24.
Unless something drastic changes, my feeling is inventory doesn't unlock unless rates go to 4. I don't see that happening. The other thing that could happen is we could have wage inflation, which we will have. It just takes longer than people want.
Okay.
I don't see anything. I don't see any way around a slow multi-quarter, multi-year slog.
Yeah. It feels the same way. Just talking to people, doing lead follow-up, talking to property owners, sellers, potential sellers, and leads. That seems to be the theme. People are, just where do they go? They're very comfortable. Like you said, that 3%, 4% mortgage is an asset. So
Agreed.
we'll keep moving on. So let's talk about the banking crisis. Still going on. Your thoughts. What did you see this week?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. And again, near as I know, no banks are getting run out of business. So that maybe we're past the worst of it. But that's not what catches my attention. What catches my attention is the consumers. And we've seen more and more data that happened. And again, when the consumer is scared, they can cause a recession. I think they're going to cause a recession Q2, Q3, Q4 this year. And we saw a couple of things. First and foremost, over $100 billion got taken out of small banks into big banks. But what was really interesting, Ty, is about a third of that money didn't go to a bank. So where did it go?
Yeah.
Well, some are taking money out and keeping it at home. It is a really bad sign when people are so afraid that they'll take money out of a bank and put it in a sock and leave it in the sock drawer, right? That's how scared people got. Also, they bought gold. Some people bought the yellow rock. Makes sense. Some people bought Bitcoin. Again, the cash, when people get fearful, they take action. And we've seen that pretty clearly. So, and again, this all has ripple effects. Money comes out of the regional banks, they can lend less, right? It's just, we're in for a slow slog. We're going to have lending down. Lending's going to act like an interest rate rise. The next year looks pretty clear to me.
Yeah.
And it's less lending, less transactions, less, M2 money supply slows down. It's just, we're in it. We're bad times never last, but man, we're in the bad times right now.
We are in it. We are in it. And it's interesting that something you said in the daily financial news is that the consumer finally, even after all the rate hikes and all of the things going on, finally, because of probably the banking crisis, that the consumer finally is pumping the brakes, slowing down, and households potentially are now spending less, eating out less. Maybe just elaborate on that one point.
Yeah. So one of the things that I did was that Saturday after SVB went out, is I said, this is the moment where the consumer broke. That's a bold claim. And I said we would be able to see if I was right for a couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of months. But to jump ahead to one of the future topics, we'll just hit it now. There was some data that I found that I posted on Twitter. So if you follow me on Twitter, one rental at a time, you'll see the graph. But it clearly shows credit card transactions for eating out got cut in half, basically on that Saturday.
Yep.
So again, the data's early. We're only 2 weeks into this. But again, I think the consumer broke that weekend. And it's always that one thing. It's like the straw that breaks the camel's back. This banking crisis, which really impacted a handful of people, when you look at the total scope of the U.S., it broke the consumer. Yeah. Again, if the consumer's got $8,000 in the bank, it doesn't matter where it is, as long as it's FDIC insured, they're good.
Right.
But when you're so scared, you take your $8,000 out and put it in your sock drawer, which people are doing. That's not a good sign. And if you are that scared, you are not eating out. You are conserving. So again, I think consumers broke. I think consumption's going to go down, and we'll have a recession Q2, Q3, and maybe Q4. It's where we're at.
Okay. So, and it's interesting that you say like bad news is good news is bad news. I picked that up from you. I've been using that, and that it makes so much sense. And that this is actually in a lot of ways a good thing, in that now potentially the Fed can potentially, and we didn't put this in the show notes, but potentially the Fed now can slow their roll a bit. And we're going to see kind of the effects of the economy tightening, and just we're in that motion. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, I think I'm clearly on record as saying I think we get one more rate increase and then they're done. We will be at the terminal rate May 2nd or May 3rd, whenever they're meeting, which is great news for everybody. I do believe we're going to stay there longer than most people think. I see no rate cuts this year. Many people do. I don't see a rate cut until the earliest being March of 24. Wow. So basically a year from today.
Wow.
But again, that's a good thing. We've got to beat inflation. Inflation is a regressive tax. It hurts the people that can least afford it the most. And I hope the Fed is stronger than most people think.
Yeah.
I hope Powell goes higher. And I think I wish him luck. I really do.
25 basis points potentially. No April meeting. There's a May meeting. 25 basis points potentially in the May meeting is what you've talked about. You've called this for months and months, and that would take us to a terminal rate of 5. Is that?
Yeah, it'd be 5% will be what's called the lower bound, and the upper bound would be 5.25. Today we're at a lower bound of 4 3/4 with an upper bound of 5. I do believe we're going to get to a 5.
Yeah, and you've been calling that. You can check the receipts if you go back 6, 8, 12 weeks ago. Yeah, Michael's been talking this probably for more than that, probably 6 months, I feel like.
6 months, 6 months, yeah.
For sure. I love it. Well, it's good to be with you because it's good to be right. So let's continue. Let's talk about 30-year mortgage rates. That's always a hot topic for our community, for your one rental at a time community. Let's talk about sub 6%. You've been talking about that for months and weeks now. What are your thoughts there this week?
Yeah. So again, on that Saturday post Silicon Valley Bank, I said, one of the bad side is, lending and all of this in the commercial market's going to stop. But one of the good news is going to be that I thought 30-year mortgage rates would go sub 6. Owner-occ, best credit, big down payment.
Yep.
And I said that on, I think it was the 16th or 17th of March. Lo and behold, last weekend on Saturday, I got multiple text messages from mortgage brokers saying, Michael, I just quoted 5.99 perfect credit, 25% down owner occ. It happened.
Yep.
It happened. Now the average, which is what Mortgage News Daily quotes, I think is sitting at about 6.5 or 6.6.
Yep.
But again, that's everybody. We had owner occ, full down payment, best credit, get in the fives, just like I called. And it happened faster than I thought. So it's pretty wild to look at.
And do you see, just like, so right now we're at the end of March, let's call it, stepping into the first week of April.
Yep.
You had called for April 15th, mid-month, potentially, that things would level off and we would probably see plus or minus 6%, maybe sub 6. Do you still see that coming in the next couple weeks, several weeks?
So again, I think for the owner occ, best credit, all of that, we've kind of been there already.
Okay.
But for most people, I think what happens the rest of the year, we trend lower.
Okay.
We may not go down as fast as maybe I did the day of the crisis. But I think rates are sub 6 by the end of the year. I think Mortgage News Daily, right, that calculates the collective average, is below 6% by the end of the year.
Yep. Perfect. I love it. I love it. So it's interesting. I've been doing a 90-second news, on Instagram, and
that's awesome.
and it's kind of a recap of articles, but one of the articles that I just posted here in the last 24 hours, where we looked at the Fed did a survey kind of more to the consumer, and the consumers seemed to think we were going to 8%. And the reason why I bring that up is that's actually really perfect, because the consumers pretty much, with all due respect to consumers,
never right.
They're never right. So they're never right. So the fact that everybody thinks we're going much higher, trending higher, is probably a good sign that we're actually now going to stabilize and level off. Is that, you feel good about that?
I don't, again, if we're talking owner occupant, best credit, full down payment, I don't see 8%. No.
Okay. All right. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about new listings. What did you see this week with new listings?
So one of the things that I've believed, and have again said before, that the spring selling season's not going to show up. Folks, we're basically in April. We are in the throes of the spring selling season, and we are down 25% in new listings. And I don't have a lot of good news for you. The spring selling season for this year is going to go by like a whimper. Next year is going to be a whimper. The year after that's going to be a whimper. It's just, we're not getting back to 6.5 million transactions for longer than most people expect.
Yeah. Spot on. I mean, I feel like when I'm talking to sellers, and, I never beg, but, sarcastically joking, I feel like sometimes when I'm educating somebody on a move, it feels like, like as a broker or even as a acquisition of buying an investment, at times it feels like, man, I'm like really trying to beg this person to sell their property. And it's interesting that, people are definitely enjoying sitting on the sidelines, as a potential, as an owner,
as they should,
seller.
Frankly. It's a financial asset. The 30-year mortgage at 3% is an asset. And quite frankly, Ty, it might be the best assets these folks ever own. It just is.
1000% agree with you. Let's talk about new home builders. What did you see this week?
Yeah. So one of the crazy things about having listings down 25%, existing home sales down at 4 million, is builders are going to crush it. They're the only variable to create more supply. Now, the builders have to be smart. They can't build McMansions. They should all pivot to building smaller homes, more affordable homes. They should do their best to get really, really close to the median home sales. They will crush it. In addition to that, builders are going to do really, really well because they don't have to lower price. They can take the 10 or 15K head cut, throw it at the mortgage, and do a rate buy down. So builders, for a decade, were 10 or 11% of the market. Q1, they're going to go down as 27% of the market. So there are a lot of people talking about builders crash and new home builders doing this or that. Stop watching that fear stuff. Builders are going to have record years because they have multiple knobs and levers to pull, and are the only place where supply is coming. So It's just a unfortunate side effect of the existing home seller going on strike. They're MIA. They're missing in action. So builders will fill the gap at least a little bit.
Yeah, it really is, with supply chain now beginning to normalize, with, the cost
Commodities
of materials
coming down. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense that builders are going to do really well this time. And again, you've been calling this and talking about this for weeks and months as well. So let's shift gears. I just, the housing market's still broken, Michael.
Yeah, it's going to be broken for a couple of years. But again, as a channel that caters to investors, I want you to hear this. A broken housing market for us is actually a good thing.
Yep.
Things slow down. We also should all clearly understand what market we should serve. If you are not producing product for the first-time home buyer, you are missing the point. Then, because we are comfortable with debt, whether it be hard money, whether it be private money, whether we have the ability to do non-QM fixer loans, the properties where we can get heavy discounts are the well-used junk. I have my second flip closing tomorrow that I bought when everybody said you couldn't. In total, I'll make about $90,000 on 2 deals combined when people said it wasn't possible. They are heavy fixers. You can go back and look at the videos. You can walk through these things and go, how did people live here? I agree. I have no idea. Bought for 175, spent $50,000 selling it at 300, FHA, first-time home buyer, it appraised in 100 days. If you are not focused on that part of the market and filling a need of creating good quality, again, no first-time home buyer could have bought the home that I bought. It's just impossible. But you can buy the $299, and we had multiple offers. So again, I think the market is clear. I think the market for bigger stuff gets even better as the year goes by, dupes and 10s and 20 units. I think the next year, Ty, for investors is better than last year. And I think most people are so negative they don't see it. What we want as investors is clear lines of demarcation, where to play, where not to play. And I think the lines are very, very clear. So I'm ecstatic about the upcoming year.
Spot on. I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like last year everybody was scratching their head going, wait a minute, is this really happening?
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, the summer, especially the summer, like that summer, early fall, you're like, wait a minute, this
August,
is real.
What happened? Whoa.
And interest rates doubling, right? Like, within a calendar year. But now we know what to expect. And you were calling it back then.
I did.
But I think for investors, for realtors, for the one rental at a time community, the ability to pivot and make those adjustments. We know now what activities, where to spend our time, where the focus should go. So spot on, Michael. Thank you for all that you do. I know you've got a couple of announcements, a couple of different things you're doing. Please share that with the audience.
Yeah. So one of the things I did after coming back from my month-long trip where I got to decompress and think about adding value, we did that buy box deep dive, which was 100 people on Zoom, well attended, great value. It was a meeting, not a webinar, which meant we got to interact with the audience. They shared their buy box. It was exceeded all of my high expectations. So I want to do more of that. So I've been brainstorming with folks like you about what topics we could do again. So we've got 2 scheduled. They are up on Eventbrite. They're $47. They're only 100 tickets. It will sell out. Buy them today if you want to be a part of it. On Sunday, April 16th, we are going to do the Ladies of Real Estate. I have 4 legends that are a part of One Rental at a Time that have each agreed to give me an hour. So at 7 a.m. Pacific, you are going to have the one and only Anna REI mom, Kelly. She is my Wednesday guest. She is a rock star. She's going to be there interacting with you. If you ever wanted to ask Anna a question, sign up. Next, we are going to have April Crosley at 8 a.m. Lazy Girl REI. She is so good that she made my second book. There is one of the chapters in my 15 Conversations with Real Estate Millionaires that is April Crosley. Number 3, we are going to have Alicia Merriman from Huntsville, Alabama, who's Story is legendary, and she's doing big things. She's been on my channel multiple times. And then finally, somebody who's been on my channel and is a featured Monday guest starting next week, Brick by Brick, or Casey, who has done an amazing thing in Nashville. So again, we are going to do 4 hours for $47 with 4 legends of real estate on the Sunday, the 16th. Sign up now. These should sell out in less than 5 days. Not to be outdone, the following Sunday on April 23rd, we have 3 top-notch real estate agents. I propose a topic: how do investors and real estate agents work together? So what do? I tap my Rolodex. We have Beth Traverso, a top 1% national real estate agent. Not 1% in her zip code, 1% in her county, 1% in her state, 1% in the country is going to come on at 8 a.m. and interact with 100 people. Then we're going to have Jason Pritchard, who I call the best investor and agent in my market of Fresno, California. He is going to give you an hour of time. And then we're going to bring the closer, the rock star, TYLG himself, this man right here, to bring us home. 30 years of experience, the man who has the closest experience and knowledge to what the market is today, because he was doing it in the 80s. So again, we are serving value. It's going to be all audience driven, no PowerPoint, all Q&A. We will be recorded. If you buy a ticket, you will get the video. So there were people that bought the buy box video. I spent 2 hours yesterday giving everybody access. So if you buy the ticket, you will get the recording. It takes about a week to slice and dice it. So if you buy the Ladies of Real Estate and can attend, you'll get the video. You buy the real estate, you get the video. I know there's a lot of people that will get both. And the meeting will be driven by the audience. It's your meeting. It's your interaction. I'm just giving you inside my Rolodex. So $47, 4 hours on the 16th, 3 hours on the 23rd. They will sell out. This probably sells out by the time we talk next Friday. That would be my guess.
I love it, man. I'm super excited for it. I'm going to absolutely bring the heat. I know that everyone you talked about, the panel for the Ladies of Real Estate, the realtor investors on that following Sunday, absolutely phenomenal, folks. It'll be in the show notes, so you'll find it here in the show notes, the link to the Eventbrite. Buy your tickets. It will sell out. There will be a replay. Michael, thank you for all that you do. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, brother.